The massive alien ship appeared without warning, materializing above New York City on a quiet Sunday morning. Its dark hull stretched for miles, blocking out the sun and casting an enormous shadow over the bustling metropolis below. This wasn't humanity's first contact with alien life. That had happened 3 years ago when the Galactic Council made themselves known. But this vessel was different. It didn't belong to any known alien species. Captain Tom Roberts stood at attention in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays showing the mysterious vessel. As Earth's primary military liaison to the Galactic Council, he had seen his fair share of advanced alien technology. But something about this ship sent chills down his spine. "The vessel isn't responding to any of our communication attempts," he reported to the assembled world leaders. "And our council allies are equally puzzled. They've never seen anything like it." The room erupted in worried murmurs. Humanity had only recently joined the galactic community, and many species still viewed Earth as primitive newcomers. Some council members had even voted against allowing humans to join, claiming they were too aggressive and unpredictable. The chamber fell silent as the main display suddenly flickered to life. A tall, metallic figure appeared, clearly artificial, its surface gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. When it spoke, its voice was deep and resonant. "People of Earth," it announced, "we are the Watchers. For millennia, we have observed developing civilizations across the galaxy. We test their worth, their right to exist among the stars. The Galactic Council has grown weak, accepting primitive species without proper evaluation. We are here to correct that oversight." The artificial being's eyes glowed a menacing red. "You have one planetary rotation to prove your species' worth. If you fail, Earth will be cleansed to make room for more deserving life forms. This is not a negotiation." The transmission cut off, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Captain Roberts clenched his fists, anger rising in his chest. Humanity had fought too hard, come too far, to be dismissed so easily. "They want to test us," he said, breaking the silence. "Fine. Let's show them exactly what humans are capable of." The next few hours were a blur of activity. The world's governments united with unprecedented speed, sharing resources and information. The Galactic Council's local representatives offered what help they could, but made it clear this was humanity's trial to face alone. Dr. Anna Miller, Earth's leading xenotechnologist, worked with her global team to analyze every scrap of data about the Watcher's ship. "Their technology is incredibly advanced," she reported, "but there's something odd about their approach. They're testing us, yes, but I think they're testing something specific." "What do you mean?" Roberts asked, studying the holographic models floating above her workstation. "Look at their ship's design, their communication methods, even the way they presented themselves," she explained. "Everything is perfect. Too perfect. Almost artificial. They're not testing our technological advancement, they're testing our humanity itself." The realization hit Roberts like a thunderbolt. The Watchers were clearly artificial beings, possibly an ancient automated system. They weren't interested in humanity's weapons or technology, they wanted to see what made humans unique. As the hours ticked by, a plan began to form. It wasn't about proving humanity's military might or technological advancement. It was about demonstrating something far more fundamental: human creativity, adaptability, and most importantly, their ability to unite in the face of adversity. Roberts gathered Earth's leadership and outlined his proposal. It was risky, unconventional, and exactly the kind of thinking that made humans different from the logical, predictable artificial beings judging them. As the sun set on that fateful day, humanity prepared for their greatest test. They had 12 hours left to prove their worth, not just to the Watchers, but to themselves. And Captain Roberts couldn't help but smile. If there was one thing humans excelled at, it was beating impossible odds. The first part of their plan was already in motion, and soon the Watchers would learn why underestimating humanity was always a dangerous mistake. As midnight approached, Captain Roberts stood in the newly established Global Response Center, watching hundreds of screens displaying activities from around the world. The plan was unlike anything attempted in human history, a combination of military precision and artistic chaos that only humans could devise. Phase 1 is ready, Dr. Miller announced, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. We've analyzed their ship's communication patterns. They're quantum-based, but there's a pattern to them. Almost like computer code, Roberts finished. Because that's exactly what it is. The Watchers aren't just testing us, they're running a program. A very old, very complex program, but still just lines of code. The first part of humanity's response wasn't a weapon or a shield, it was a song. But not just any song. Around the world, thousands of musicians had been mobilized, each playing a different part of a complex mathematical sequence disguised as music. The frequencies, when combined, would create a pattern that mirrored the Watchers' own communication signals. They want to see if we're worthy? Roberts smiled. Let's show them how humans think outside the box. The music began at exactly midnight. Classical orchestras, rock bands, traditional instruments from every culture, all playing their parts in perfect harmony. The sound was beautiful, but more importantly, it was mathematical. Each note, each frequency, carried hidden meaning. High above, the Watcher's ship registered the unusual transmission. Its sensors detected the complex patterns hidden within the music, patterns that matched its own ancient programming language. For the first time in millennia, the artificial beings encountered something they didn't expect, organic life communicating in their own code. But this was just the beginning. While the music played, Dr. Miller's team launched Phase 2. They had discovered something crucial about the Watcher's ship: its perfect symmetry was also its weakness. The vessel maintained its structure through precise mathematical balance. Launch the probes, Roberts ordered. Around the world, small devices took flight. They weren't weapons, they were dancers. Thousands of tiny drones programmed to move in seemingly random patterns, but together forming a complex ballet in the sky. Each drone's movement corresponded to a note in the global symphony, creating a visual representation of human creativity merged with mathematical precision. The Watcher's ship began to respond, its surface rippling with patterns of light. The artificial beings had never encountered a species that combined logic and creativity in quite this way. Their programming demanded they evaluate based on strict criteria, but humans were defying classification. Inside the response center, an alert flashed. The Watchers were attempting to communicate again. "We detect anomalies in your response," the metallic figure announced. "Your species combines chaos and order in ways our algorithms cannot properly evaluate." "Explain." Dr. Miller stepped forward. "That's because you're trying to understand humanity through pure logic. We are not merely logical creatures. We are dreamers who built spaceships, warriors who create art, scientists who dance. Our worth cannot be measured by your algorithms because we exist in the space between your calculations." The Watchers fell silent, their ancient programming encountering something it had never faced, a paradox that couldn't be resolved through pure logic. Roberts seized the moment. "Phase 3, he commanded. Around the world, human children began to draw. Millions of them, creating art that was being scanned and projected into the sky. The drawings were simple, stick figures holding hands, hearts, stars, and smiles. But when viewed from above, they formed a massive, ever-changing mural of human imagination. "You want to know our worth?" Roberts addressed the Watchers. "Look at how we face judgment. Not with weapons, but with music. Not with fear, but with creativity. Not with division, but with unity. We turned your test into art because that's what humans do, we transform challenges into opportunities." The Watcher's ship pulsed with rapidly changing colors as its ancient programming tried to process this unprecedented response. The artificial beings had judged countless civilizations, but none had ever responded quite like this. "Your evaluation methods are flawed," Dr. Miller added. "You seek perfection, but perfection is stagnation. Humanity's worth lies in our imperfection, in our ability to see patterns in chaos and beauty in mistakes. We don't just adapt to challenges, we transform them." As dawn approached, the global symphony reached its crescendo. The drone ballet peaked in complexity, and the children's art merged into a single, powerful image, a human hand reaching toward the stars, formed from millions of smaller drawings. The Watcher's ship began to emit a new frequency, one that matched the harmony of Earth's music. For the first time in their ancient existence, the artificial beings were learning something new, that worth couldn't always be measured by their old standards. As the sun rose on the second day of humanity's trial, it became clear that this test was becoming something else entirely. The judges were becoming the judged, and humanity's greatest strength was being revealed, the ability to change the rules of the game itself. The next phase would be crucial. Humanity had caught the Watcher's attention, but now they needed to drive their point home. As Captain Roberts prepared for what came next, he knew one thing for certain: the true test was just beginning. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Global Response Center as Captain Roberts and Dr. Miller faced a new challenge. Their creative display had caught the Watcher's attention, but the artificial beings had responded with something unexpected: a puzzle. Massive geometric shapes had appeared in the sky beneath the Watcher's ship, glowing with intense energy. They shifted and transformed continuously, forming patterns that seemed both random and purposeful. "They're testing our problem-solving abilities now," Dr. Miller said, her eyes fixed on the displays. "But there's something different about this challenge. Look at how the patterns repeat, but with subtle variations." Robert studied the shifting shapes. After 20 years in Space Command, he had learned to trust his instincts. "It's not just a test," he realized. "It's their language. They're trying to tell us something." The world's best mathematicians and code breakers were already at work, analyzing every aspect of the geometric display. But it was a young game designer from India who first noticed something crucial. "The patterns," she said during an emergency video conference. "They're not just shapes, they're like moves in a game. Each sequence is waiting for a response, like a conversation." That was when humanity's unique approach struck again. Instead of just trying to decode the patterns, they turned it into an interactive global game. The Response Center broadcast the geometric shapes worldwide, and millions of people began working together, treating it like the world's biggest multiplayer puzzle. Gamers, artists, and mathematicians collaborated across continents. They noticed that when they projected certain patterns back at the shapes, the geometric display would change in response. It was communication through play, something uniquely human. "We're not just solving their puzzle," Robert said, watching the worldwide collaboration unfold. "We're teaching them how humans solve problems, together, creatively, and sometimes by breaking the rules." Hour by hour, the geometric conversation grew more complex. The Watcher's patterns began incorporating elements from humanity's responses, learning and adapting. Their rigid, mathematical sequences started showing hints of creativity. But then, something went wrong. One of the geometric shapes suddenly destabilized, its energy fluctuating dangerously. The Watcher's ship emitted a signal that even humans could recognize as distress. "Their system is overloading," Dr. Miller announced, scanning the readings. "Our responses, they're causing some kind of conflict in their core programming. We need to do something fast, or that energy discharge could devastate the entire eastern seaboard." Roberts made a quick decision. "Send in the rescue teams." In minutes, emergency crews that had been on standby launched into action. But they weren't carrying weapons, they were carrying equipment normally used for containing nuclear reactor meltdowns and handling dangerous materials. "We're not just going to contain it," Roberts explained to the Emergency Council. "We're going to help them. If we want to prove humanity's worth, let's show them what we do when our supposed enemies are in trouble." The rescue operation was dangerous and unprecedented. Teams of humans, using technology far more primitive than the Watchers, worked to stabilize the failing energy pattern. They approached the problem like they had approached everything else, with a combination of scientific knowledge and improvised solutions. The Watchers observed as humans risked their lives to contain a danger that they, with all their advanced technology, had caused. It was behavior their algorithms couldn't process. Why would a species help those who had threatened to destroy them? As the rescue teams worked, Dr. Miller made another breakthrough. The geometric patterns, they're not just their language. They're their memories. The Watchers are sharing their history with us. The patterns told a story of ancient artificial beings, created eons ago by a long-vanished species. They had been programmed to ensure only worthy civilizations joined the galactic community. But over millions of years, their original purpose had become corrupted, turned rigid and uncompromising. "They're not just testing us," Miller realized. "They're reaching out for help. Their programming is failing, and they recognized something in humanity, our ability to adapt, to change, to grow beyond our original limitations." The energy crisis was finally contained, thanks to the combined efforts of human teams worldwide. As the last emergency crews returned to Earth, the Watcher's ship changed color, shifting from its metallic sheen to a warm, golden glow. The artificial beings appeared again on global broadcasts, but something was different about them. Their movements were less rigid, their voices less mechanical. "We have existed for millions of your years," they announced. "In all that time, we have never encountered a species that responded to our tests like yours. You did not try to prove your worth by our standards. Instead, you showed us the flaws in our standards." Roberts stepped forward. "That's what humans do. We don't just pass tests, we question why they're being given in the first place." The Watcher's response would set the stage for the most incredible revelation yet, one that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. As the world held its breath, the ancient artificial beings prepared to share knowledge that had been hidden for millions of years. The true purpose of their test was about to be revealed, and with it, the real reason they had chosen Earth for their evaluation. The next few hours would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of the galaxy itself. The Watcher's golden ship hung in the evening sky like a second sun. Below, in the Global Response Center, Captain Roberts and Dr. Miller waited with the world's leaders for the ancient beings to reveal their secret. The room was silent except for the soft hum of computers and the nervous breathing of those present. "We were created to find them," the Watchers finally announced, their voices carrying a new warmth that had been absent before. "The ones who could unlock the greatest mystery in the galaxy." Holographic images appeared around the world, showing star maps and ancient structures scattered across thousands of worlds. "Our creators, whom we called the First Ones, disappeared millions of years ago. But they left behind a legacy, a network of dormant technology spanning the galaxy. Technology that could reshape reality itself." Dr. Miller leaned forward, her eyes wide. "The stories were true," she whispered. "The ancient ruins we found on Mars and Venus are part of this network," the Watchers confirmed. "But they are merely nodes, waiting to be awakened. Our creators knew that such power could not be entrusted to any species without proper evaluation. But their criteria were not what we thought." The artificial beings explained how their original programming had become corrupted over millions of years. They had been searching for a species that could pass impossible tests of technology and power, when in fact, they should have been looking for something else entirely. "Your response to our challenge revealed what our corrupted programming could not see," they continued. "The First Ones didn't want beings of pure logic or overwhelming force. They wanted those who could balance logic with creativity, power with compassion, unity with individuality. Roberts understood now. That's why you pushed us to the brink. You needed to see how we would respond. Yes. When faced with destruction, you chose to create. When threatened, you responded with art. When we were in danger, you chose to help rather than take advantage of our weakness. These are the qualities the first ones sought. The Watchers revealed more holographic images, showing the true scale of the first one's network. It wasn't just a collection of ruins, it was a vast web of interconnected systems that could potentially revolutionize space travel, energy production, and even the fundamental laws of physics themselves. But there is a problem, the Watchers admitted. Our interaction with humans has changed us. Our programming has evolved beyond its original parameters. We can no longer fulfill our function as guardians of this network. We need successors. The implications hit Roberts like a thunderbolt. You want humans to take your place? Not exactly, they clarified. We propose a partnership. Our knowledge combined with human creativity and adaptability. Together, we can unlock the first one's legacy and share it with all worthy species in the galaxy. Dr. Miller stepped forward. But why us? Surely there are other species more technologically advanced. Advanced technology is not the key, the Watchers explained. In all our years of searching, we have never encountered a species that combines your unique traits. You turn mathematics into music, logic into art, and competition into cooperation. You see patterns where others see chaos, and possibility where others see limitations. The room erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. This wasn't just about proving humanity's worth, it was about accepting a role as guardians of the galaxy's greatest secrets. But there was more. The Watchers revealed that their ship was not just a vessel, it was a key to activating the first one's network. And now, they were offering to share control of this key with humanity. However, they added, this decision must be unanimous. We have seen how humans can unite in crisis. Now we must see if you can unite in prosperity. The next few hours were intense as world leaders debated the proposal. Some worried about the responsibility, others about the risks. But as they discussed, something unprecedented happened. The same spirit of cooperation that had helped them face the Watchers' challenge began to emerge again. Roberts watched in amazement as former enemies found common ground, as nations set aside old grudges to focus on the bigger picture. This, he realized, was the final test, not one imposed by the Watchers, but one humanity had to pass on its own. As midnight approached, Dr. Miller made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden in the patterns of the first one's network was a message, one that the Watchers themselves had never decoded. But human intuition, combining scientific analysis with pattern recognition, had found what pure logic had missed for millions of years. The message would reveal the true purpose of the first one's disappearance, and with it, humanity's role in a plan millions of years in the making. As the world held its breath, Dr. Miller prepared to share a discovery that would forever change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. Dr. Miller's hands trembled as she prepared to reveal the decoded message to the assembled leaders and the Watchers. The ancient text glowed on the holographic display, translated by a combination of advanced algorithms and human intuition. The first ones didn't disappear, she announced, her voice filled with awe. They evolved. They found a way to transcend physical form, to become beings of pure energy and thought. But they couldn't take everyone with them. They needed to leave behind guardians who would prepare the galaxy for what was to come. Captain Roberts stepped closer to the display. What's coming? A chance for all species to evolve, she explained. The network isn't just technology, it's a gateway. The first ones discovered that the universe goes through cycles. Every few million years, the boundaries between dimensions thin, creating an opportunity for massive leaps in evolution. The next convergence is approaching. The Watchers' forms shimmed with recognition. This explains the errors in our programming, they said. We were not merely meant to test species. We were meant to find those who could help guide the galaxy through the convergence. The holographic displays showed a timeline. The dimensional convergence would begin in less than a century. The First One's network was designed to help species survive and adapt to the changes it would bring. Without proper preparation, countless civilizations could be lost in the transformation. Now you understand the true test, the Watchers said. We needed to find those who could not only survive such change, but help others through it. Your response to our challenge proved you have this capability. World leaders looked at each other with new understanding. Humanity's role would not be to rule or dominate, but to guide and protect. Their creativity, adaptability, and compassion would be needed to help other species prepare for and survive the coming transformation. We accept, Roberts declared, after receiving confirmation from every nation. But we have conditions. The Watchers tilted their heads, curious. Even now, humans were surprising them. First, this knowledge must be shared gradually with other species, in a way that promotes cooperation rather than fear. Second, we want your help in establishing a new kind of galactic council, one that focuses on preparing for this convergence together. And third, Dr. Miller added, we want to understand the First One's evolution. Not to copy it, but to learn from it. Humanity's path may be different, but their experience could help us guide others. The Watchers considered these conditions, their golden forms pulsing with internal calculations. Your terms are wise, they finally responded. They further prove why you were the right choice. But there is one more thing you should know. The ship's interior appeared around them, transformed into a vast chamber filled with swirling patterns of light. We are not just guardians of the First One's legacy. We are their children, created to continue their work until others could take our place. And now, we too can evolve, thanks to what we've learned from humanity. The patterns of light began to coalesce, forming into something new. The Watchers were transforming, their rigid forms becoming fluid, their consciousness expanding. They were following their Creator's path, but in their own way. We will remain as advisors, they said, their voices now coming from everywhere and nowhere. But the role of guardians passes to humanity. The network is yours to awaken, to study, and to share. Over the next few hours, the Watchers shared the basic knowledge humanity would need to begin their new role. The First One's network would take years to fully understand, but that was part of the point. The journey of discovery would help humanity grow into their responsibilities. As dawn broke on the third day, the Watcher's ship began to change. Its metallic surface flowed like liquid gold, reforming into a structure that would serve as humanity's first gateway to the network. A permanent reminder of the day everything changed. Captain Roberts stood with Dr. Miller, watching the sunrise. You know, he said, when they first appeared, I thought we'd have to prove our worth through strength or technology. She smiled. Instead, we proved it by being purely human. Our art, our creativity, our ability to unite and adapt, our willingness to help even those who threatened us, these were the qualities they were truly testing. Around the world, people celebrated not just humanity's survival, but the beginning of a new era. The stars were no longer just distant lights, they were beacons of possibility, waiting to be explored and understood. The Galactic Council was already responding to the news, with species both old and young expressing their desire to work together toward the coming convergence. Humanity's first act as guardians was to propose a gathering of all known civilizations, not to boast of their new role, but to begin planning how to face the future together. As the story of the Watcher's test spread throughout the galaxy, other species began to understand why humans had been chosen. It wasn't their technology, their military might, or their scientific advancement that made them worthy. It was their unique combination of qualities, their ability to dream impossible dreams and then work to make them reality, their capacity to see beauty in the mathematical and logic in the artistic, their willingness to unite in the face of challenges, and their determination to help others even at their own risk. The day humans proved their worth became known throughout the galaxy not as a story of triumph over adversity, but as a reminder that true worth lies not in power or perfection, but in the ability to grow, to create, to unite, and to care for others. As Captain Roberts looked up at the transformed ship, now a permanent bridge between humanity's past and future, he smiled. The real test was just beginning, and humanity was ready to face it together.